Josh, it's been so long since we've been together.
No, hello.
Oh, Josh, you're a legend to us all. Paul's back in the house. Queen Sue's in. Oh, the glamour that is Emma. Oh, that's a good colour choice, Emma. That's looking fantastic. The glamour is amazing. Gay's back with her fabulous blue. Jess, who we're now describing as the centre of the known and unknown universe, has joined us. The amazing Susan from Late Night New York City is with us. Lovely to see you, Susan. You're the light for us. Fantastic. Jelly's in again. We are thrilled with that fantastic coral. Professor Quinton is joining us from Aotearoa, New Zealand. It is all occurring. So, colleagues, we are so thrilled to see you. Now, this is going to be big. Paul, have you got a focus this week? Are you recording or are you going to mark? What are you going to do, Paul?
I'm just finishing off one essay, and then I'm going to carry on with some research ahead of writing a lecture on societal and cultural influences on the performing arts.
Oh, this is huge. So, colleagues, let's go for it. Let's change the world in the next 30 minutes. Write something magnificent. We are all together. Jess, keep being magnificent. Let's keep doing this, girl. You're the best in the universe. See you in 29 minutes. Rock and roll. And Jane, good morning, Jane. last minute, colleagues. And we are done, colleagues. Oh, it's all happening this morning. Oh, well, I can see Damien back. We've missed you, Damien. Love you, Damien. Looking amazing, Damien. Should we start with Damien? Let's start with Damien because I'm obsessed by Damien. Damien, good morning.
Good morning.
You legendary human. What were you writing on this week, superstar?
I am working on cutting 2,000 words from a piece that I'm writing for Media International Australia with another author, the one all about trends in LGBTQ representation since the year 2000 in Australian television. So it's very close to the end. We're about to submit, but we're just cutting our 2,000 words.
And I'll do the usual thing with you, Damien. Is there a chance to remove a section, or it's one of the nasty hedge cuts where every sentence you've got to look at for a word?
We have 2 sections that we're going to cut and instead make a brief reference and say that there's an opportunity for further research, and we're already going to start working on those. And that will get us a good halfway there. And then there's a couple of sections we're going to just make more summaries, and that we'll look for opportunities to explore them in other ways in the future.
Oh, Damien, I'm thrilled, mate. And MIA, good citation capacity there. So I'm looking forward to seeing that and citing it, you superstar.
Cheers.
You're a legend. Should we go to Paul, who sadly for the first bit of that I think was finishing off marking, but did one finish with a more optimistic conclusion, sir?
Yeah. So I finished one essay and then I just tidied up some. So for our formative, we do. Speaking of podcasts, we do a podcast formative feedback with all the students, so that they've got it for their own reflective journals. But also we can then, if they're happy to do it, build a catalogue and show it to other students to show the reflective process. So I'm just putting that together. But I was looking at some putting some thoughts down around some sociologists' thoughts around attendance to the arts and how that's an adolescent exposure. So looking at the cultural and societal referencing to arts, I'm looking at it to teach performing artists the social and cultural relevance to them, but for them to understand that, looking at some sociologists' point of view around adolescent exposure to the arts for educational reason, income hierarchy of social position, and actually how that might impact them as performing artists as well.
Oh, Paul, that's remarkable, mate. And look, it's a long time ago. I'll dig out the reference for you, but I remember citing a series of French national curricula that used the phrase arts literacy and made that one of their curricular criterion. I'll try and find that reference for you. And they did some good qual quants and some transnational work, and I think they proved it, mate. So I might try and send you that reference if I can.
That'd be great. Yeah, awesome.
Oh, brilliant. You're a superstar, Paul. And mate, in the middle of the night, as always, you're just an absolute rock star. But it's the early, fresh Perth morning for Emma, you glamorous creature. What were you writing on this week?
In a way, it's fairly plebeian because I'm responding to reviewers' comments and writing back. But the topic that I was working on was axiology.
No.
And moral realism. And I'm not a philosopher, so I really struggle with it. But going through to say, I don't think this is quite the same, that this is what I think the core issue is.
Axiology, I'm a bit obsessed by axiology. What drew you to that? Is it your profound interest in ethics and worldviews and so forth? What drew you to that focus, Emma?
As an evaluator, one of the things we have to do is value. And so I've always thought axiology is something we have to understand. As a person who is tone deaf when it comes to philosophy, I've always known I've had to struggle with it. So I thought the chance to do the PhD was a chance to start to do reading in ways that I can't do usually in a rushed way. And to just to have something really brief about axiology, but to understand it. And because the methodology I'm using is realist methodology, which says that, so for the jargon, guys, if others don't like philosophy, there is a mind-independent physical and social reality. Then it's consistent to say that I should believe, but I'm not sure I do, that there is a mind-independent moral reality. And I know some people believe in that, but I'm not sure I do. So I'm trying to get my head around it and think this is really important to me. This doesn't, what is it about emotions? Is it about thoughts? So I'm working my way through it.
Oh, Emma, you're amazing. And look, I've done work on Joan Didion this week for an outrider that's coming. And she always used the argument that we write to work out what we think.
Mm.
And you are doing that beautifully. You are the best. So good morning to you from Perth. To the legendary Josh, who sort of is the star of my life. So Josh, what are you writing on, shall we say, now?
I'm still working through the backlog at the moment. So I'm working on a piece looking at platinum open access journals that also have an impact factor. So I think I've committed to platinum open access, but coming from the sciences, it's a hard sell to get rid of the metrics. So I see these journals, and there's only a few of them, as a bit of a gateway drug. And I think that they can be useful to shift people into platinum open access and get rid of the ridiculousness of corporate publishing. So it's looking at just evaluating those unicorn journals and seeing how they operate, what their history is, what their challenges are, to try and, yeah, just push that area a bit more. So I just see it as a safe middle zone for everyone.
Yeah, Josh, that's amazing. And obviously I've committed my life to platinum open access journals because that's my politics, and in my sort of area, that politics of publishing is sort of the project as well. But I'm aware in all sorts of disciplines there's still the metric and all that sort of stuff. So we don't have to commit our whole career to this. We can have lots of different strategies as you're doing, Josh. So I can't wait to read that.
Thank you.
Oh, you're the best. We'll go to the star of Friday. Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Jess. And what were you writing on now?
I didn't want to do my research integrity modules, so I went on a side quest.
You went a side quest, yes.
Yeah. I've been developing some group work I can do with young people suffering from anxiety and self-esteem issues, and I'm combining my love of children's literature with my psychology knowledge, with also my animal assisted interventions. I have my therapy dog and my art therapy, and I'm putting it all in together and smushing it together into something that kids can come to discover themselves and have some fun and play and learn to believe in themselves again. Was my side quest.
So Jess, I'm with Paul on that. I saw Paul just go, and why aren't you doing an artifact exegesis thesis, a multimodal porous thesis, just for interest?
Oh my God, if I could do that, yes, but that's not what my research is about. It's my head supervisor's an audiologist.
I love me some audiologists. Some of my best friends are audiologists, but remember,
it has to have an audiology component, I believe.
It does, but also remember multimodality. Think about this going into appendices, if nothing else. Porous pH.
Right. Yeah, because I love this, reaching, especially young people's mental health difficulties through play, art, engagement with animals and each other, and connection. And I love all that. Yeah.
And we love you, Jess. You are unbelievable. And look, the legend who's brought sexy back and brought the coral with us this morning. Mary, how have you been through all of this? So what were you writing on, and should I be concerned about you, Mary?
Look, I seem to have a little bit of a turn of luck. You know how that article of mine got rejected?
Yes.
But I was presenting on it at a conference. Well, now they want to do a book from the conference, so they want a book chapter. So thank you for offering to help me with that, Gay, but now I'm going to take it and turn it into a book chapter.
And I think that's brilliant. And the water, Mary, you're a rock star. Look, water finds its own level. Publications find their own place, Mary.
Mm.
Oh, I'm thrilled for it. And the thing about a book chapter, there's lots of, speaking of Josh and the politics of citation, lots of strengths and weaknesses of book chapters. But one of the gifts of book chapters is it can really be your own voice in your own way. So that's maybe appropriate for this piece.
I think it is because it is my honours research, and it's going to be a way for me to get it published at last and just get it out there. It's not a huge amount, you know, it's just a tiny little story, really. But it'd be great to get it out there because Bill Webb, the Wodandi traditional owner who told me the oral history, would just love to have it a bit more publicised and known.
Every one of these great pieces is a crucial bit of that jigsaw, a crucial citation that builds knowledge, Mary. That is phenomenal. And speaking of the woman who teaches us how to be philosophers, thinkers, better humans, should we go to Queen Jane, who we're all just sort of a bit in love with? Good morning, Jane.
Hello, Tara, and everyone. How are you all?
Oh, what were you working on, sweetness? We're just so excited.
I'm preparing for my next conference. I'm presenting on the 29th of November in Vietnam about translation and conceptual metaphor theories. So I haven't heard anything about my thesis yet. So this time I dedicated for explaining why it takes so long to fight with my way of keeping the words of my participant in English, but the way that I say in Vietnamese, because the experience is in their body. And the way that they explain, like one foot is wet and the other foot is dry, cannot be replaced by the word inexperience in English, because it doesn't show where the experience is and what's wrong with that. So from sticking to that, now I have that 7 chapters with all the Vietnamese words in one side and English and the other. I'm so thrilled to find out that the Big Dipper or the plow, or the guiding stars, we are actually using the word rudder in Vietnamese, which is a back part of the boat. So I'm so thrilled with that. And that's going to be my evidence to show that why good translation, we have to pay attention to conceptual metaphor.
See, Jane, I'm obsessed by having multimodality and multilinguistic theses. The notion of translation into English is neo-colonial for me, and finding the spaces and the strategies for multiple voices, multiple languages in and of themselves is crucial. So I think that's part of the Porous PhD project too, Jane. Beautifully said, mate.
Thank you.
Oh, so I'm looking at Paul. Paul, we're having a morning, mate, or you're having a night. Unbelievable. Should we go to Jelly? How are you, my darling? Hello. Hello. Tell us what you're writing on, darling. And what were you doing for the last half an hour?
Okay, well, when I wasn't chatting with my son, who was waiting in the hospital room and distracted, waiting, texting with him anyway, because he's post-surgery. So in between, I was writing about hearers and speakers and how when they come together, they may not be in the same space. And of course, hearing, it may be a delayed hearing, so you may not even be in the same time. And so I've just come to the conclusion that even co-joined twins who would have intimately the same experience at the same time don't, because of course their heads could be in a very different space. And so so I'm looking at being quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger on social media. That's basically what my PhD is about.
And that'll change the world if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
There is that great meme, which I do love. It's like, you can disagree with somebody on the internet and just get on with the rest of your day.
And just keep scrolling. Yes, absolutely.
But as you've said, there's something about listening, reading, breathing, and the gift of silence, the gift of pause.
Yes. Yes, and that giving of grace rather than, okay, I don't like how you phrase that. And then it can go crazy.
The giving of grace. Is anybody else that's going to just carry that through the day? I can see Jane going, we're just going to be giving grace through the day. Unbelievable. You're amazing. Should we go to we've got 2 Susans on the call that are legendary. Susan L first. Good evening, madam. What fabulousness were you working on tonight?
I was working on the fabulousness of putting my handwritten notes. I had a long conversation yesterday with someone, and I was putting the handwritten notes into the computer so that I can read them in the future. My handwriting is atrocious. So whenever I do in longhand, I try to convert it as soon as I can into digital so that I can read it and so that others can read it and so on and so forth. That's what I did today. I did academic, direct academic writing earlier in the week. And I remind myself that there are 7 days in the week and I only have to write in a few of them. So today was one of those days.
And look, Susan, I'm of course quite obsessed by you, but I love that notion because I think, and again, I haven't theorized this, I've read some work on it, but when one is writing with pen and paper, the ideas and the way they're formulated is quite distinctive from a keyboard and a screen. And so when one is, back to beautiful Jane's point, translating between modes, I think the way of thinking also transforms.
Yeah, because I noticed as I was writing the notes, I came up with a long list of questions based on the notes that I had already taken. So a lot of the questions, I've already kind of halfway looked at some of the answers to some of those questions because I did a bit of preliminary research, but some of the questions are pretty deep. So I'm looking forward to getting started on it.
I love that. I think, Susan, you're absolutely right. When you're writing by hand in a particular space, it configures a context of inquiry that's quite distinctive, I think. Oh, brilliant, Susan. I'm going to be doing some handwriting on the weekend, I believe, after that. You are superb. And look, should we go to Jamaica, colleagues? Good evening, good afternoon, good evening to the wonderful Susan M. How are you, darling? What have you been working on, beautiful one?
I'm fine. I was just coming from a function. I'm actually at work. Sorry, it's 8:30, so they had a public lecture. I decided to go, so that's why I missed the first part of the session. Yes, so I was working on my academic CV. Now, I've actually watched a lot of your blogs or YouTube videos, Taro. And so I recently watched your, I think it was a long time, like I think on academic CV. And then I think, wow, I'm going to need to start to regularly do work on academic CVs. But because I remember the project I told you about, the one on the I can't think of the word. Sorry. The one on climate change.
Yes.
So I already wrote up part of the application. So there are two parts. There's the write-up of the application. I got a colleague to read it and give me some feedback. And I now have it also require a CV. So I haven't updated my CV for about 2 years. So I was just going through it and I clearly haven't finished. But I saw the sense of these long, like I'm literally, even the one I did for my promotion the other day, 3 years ago. They literally took 3 years to respond to everybody's promotion at my work because of monetary problems. So I have a steady job, but I make close to a bare living wage, by the way. Anyway, but thankfully I have a job. So, but anyway, so yeah, so it's quite challenging. So what this is reminding me is that I need to keep up to date. But I have a question for you, if you could answer.
I'll try.
Well, I'm just wondering, like, I currently do research in many different ways. I'm wondering if somebody looking on is going to say, you look like you don't look focused enough. Like right now, not like going forward. Right now, I'm literally in a project. Okay, I'm in a couple of projects to do with digital health, but I'm also leading a project which is on higher education.
You are. So it's very common, Susan, to have exactly what you've said there, to have and you see it's a lot in science, you see it in all disciplines, including experimental science, but you have your substantive research area, so the particular content or knowledge system, but then you may also have SOTL, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. You might also have SOS, Scholarship of Supervision, Teaching and Learning, learning-led research as well. So on some CVs, you can now, and I'm increasingly seeing this, separating, the refereed articles and so forth, but a section on SOTL and a section on SOS as well. Does that help, Susan? Or have we lost her? I think have I got you? Have I got you, Susan? I saw an eye movement there. Slightly frightening, isn't it, Paul, when you see an eye movement? Oh, mouth movement. Are you okay, Susan?
Yeah, it does help.
Oh, try that, Susan. Try.
Yeah,
Speak, sweetness.
yes, yes, that's good.
Fantastic. Trial that. I'm actually trying that on my own CV as well to see how that recut will be useful. I'm conscious of time. We better have a couple more people because, as you saw, I've been summoned to a meeting at 11. So I will. Oh, I know, Gay. Isn't it exciting when someone comes at the door and knocks? It's terribly exciting. Let's quickly go to the beautiful Gay if I can. Gay, what were you writing on? I'm always excited by yours. Come on. What are we working on, Gay?
I'm working on the prosopography entries for my soldiers, and when I'm writing them up, I'm realizing which bits of research I still haven't collected. So that's a valuable exercise.
Oh, that's great. Look, finding the gap is crucial in historical research. Mary knows this too. Actually, the gift of writing what one is thinking is finding those gaps. Gay, well done you. Superstar. To our legendary Beck, who we've missed desperately. Beck, what were you writing on, Superstar?
I'm trying to get back into the zone again, but I just finished invigilating skills exams yesterday for first-year students, medication administration. So it's the end of the teaching semester, so I have been writing a reflection on my experiences because I taught both first and second-year students, pathophysiology for second-year, first-year students, law and ethics. And they're just two completely different cohorts, and some classes went better than others. So just been gathering all my thoughts together, what worked well, what didn't work well, because the current first year cohort's going to be the second year cohort where I'm doing pathophysiology next year, because I spent a lot of time a few years ago going, oh, I've made that same mistake again. So now I've actually learned, when I'm in the moment, when I've actually done it, what went well, what didn't go well, what would I do differently? Now I know more about these students. And so what do I really want to teach next year as well too? So I know that research makes up a big part of my role, and there's a lot, but I've got other things going on at the moment. So really I just need to focus on looking ahead and things. So this is thinking about what I've done now is going to help me be better for next year.
Beck, you're amazing. I would love to see that in the refereed literature, Beck. I mean, learning-led research is really becoming a bit of a phrase at the moment. And because it helps all of us. So, you know, your work you've just described there could be academic literacies in some genres of research. It certainly is subtle, but it's learning led in a really interesting way. So I'd love to read that, Beck.
Okay.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah, maybe not.
No, that's all right. 2 weeks and 2 days and I'm flying out to the UK. So I'm like, oh, how am I going to squeeze this one in?
Oh, this is fantastic. Beck, you're the best. And look, we'll finish before I get summoned to my next meeting. And so, you know, it's a bit of a worry when people like come to the door. It's like, we need you at this next meeting. We're finishing with the light of our lives. Yes, it is Dina. Dina, talk to us, superstar. We can't go on with our lives without hearing from you. Talk to us, Dina.
So I'm still writing on my discussion chapters. I want to get it like third quarter before I send it to you. So for grounded theory, I'm doing pragmatism grounded theory, and we see experience through condition, action, reaction, and result. Now I'm doing the result part. And a bit that I'd like to share is that for a community, community that is voluntarily based, for them to sustain, is what I found through my data is the ability to have their adaptation capacity, because with my group, the disaster resilience group, first they only focus on disasters, but then as they work with the community and as they are present in the community then depend on them, because now they are branching into new roles like social conflict. Like, for example, the KSB are telling me that they are helping with mentally challenged people, they are helping with burial, they are helping with even a woman that was going to give birth, because one community had their own ambulance. so they could use their own ambulance to help her to get her to the hospital. So with that, that is the result of their hard work in the community. So the community then supports them, even when they could not do anything in COVID era. Then the community gave them a new task, which is to help them respond to COVID, which was not in their mandate, but with collaboration with all the other sector, particularly the health sector. So they did but they helped vaccination. They did burial for the victim. They conducted the logistic for the isolated family. So they have a value added to the community. So that is why they sustain, versus the ones that are just pessimistic that they could not do anything with the community. So that's also a new knowledge for me. So it's so interesting, this this research.
I love this. We've used the word porous all morning. That's the porous functionality that you're revealing here, Dina. It's just beautiful. Colleagues, I thank you so much for this morning. It's been a great morning, a fantastic night. Thank you to Susan and to Paul for joining us in their night. Sleep well, you three. You are precious to us, and have a lovely week, and I'll see you in a week's time. You rock, Josh. You rock. You rock. Yeah, see you soon.